Hi, I'm Ann Tudor, and welcome to episode number 1 of my podcast. I am a Lampwork glass artist and a knitter. So this is going to be a podcast about things I do in glass. I'll have some glass demonstrations. I have a couple guests lined up for a few months down the road after we get all the technology stuff figured out. And I'll talk about knitting. I'm going to try to keep these short, about half hour, something like that, 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm going to try to do them weekly. So, tell you a little bit about myself. I am a full-time glass artist, meaning and lampwork glass artist. I do not blow glass. Lamp workers, what we do is we take these rods of colored glass and we melt them in a torch. And when the glass is molten, then we shape it into different shapes and make beads and jewelry. And right now, I have the best of both of my worlds have come together. And I make glass stitch markers for knitters and crocheters. I'm not a crocheter, but I'm a big knitter. So I started about a year ago making sheep. Little sheep stitch markers like these. And I put them together in sets of 6. So there's a row keeper. He's a black sheep, which I don't have one with me. A black sheep. And then I have 5 white sheep. And then I expanded. And here's an example of some of my ladybugs. And I have hearts. And maybe I'll show you. Hearts. All sorts of things. Sloths and ice cream cones, and just I'm adding things all the time. I think there's probably close to 30 different kinds I make now. Some are seasonal, some are Christmas, and so I take those off. I just took out most of the holiday things down, but we'll be adding more as time goes by. I started out making the small size, which goes to needle size 9, US 9. And then I also goes up to size 11. Well, some of my friends that do the big knitting, use the big knitting needles, felt left out. So I can't leave those guys out. So now I'm offering 2 larger sizes. This size will go up to a size 19 needle, and that's the large. And then I have an extra large. Ooh, then that one goes up to size 25. I do have a really gigantic one. And if someone's interested, then they can contact me and I will get those to them. But I don't list them on my website. So, besides my stitch markers, I also make a bit of jewelry. I started out making a lot of jewelry. Now I just do a little bit. But I just started making little sheep earrings. Aren't they cute? Perfect for Valentine's Day. I'll be adding more colors, but right now this is what I have. So this podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about the glass. And then in a little bit, I will tell you what I have on the needles, projects that I want to get started on, and things that I've completed. Also, I'll be doing some demonstrations periodically. I'll throw in a demo of me at the torch. And some of the things that I've demoed before, I used to do quite a bit on Periscope, not so much anymore, but I used to. And I sell a lot of hearts, such as these, and since Valentine's Day is coming up, I'm sure I'll do more of these. And so I'll do a demonstration of how I make these hearts in the torch. And that's usually people say it's interesting, but you'll see the whole process, where I start out with the rod of glass, and then I mix colors together and then shape it into the heart. With all my glass, once it has been formed, then I put it into a kiln. And what the kiln does, it holds it at a very high temperature. I think it's 960 degrees. It's a digital pre-programmed kiln I have. And it holds it there at that temperature for a certain amount of time, and then gradually cools it down, ramps down over a period of several hours. And what that does, it makes the glass stronger. It's called annealing. So I make sure I do that with all of my glass. So that makes it stronger, and I'm not saying that these won't ever break, but they're not as fragile as you think they are. So I've dropped these on concrete floors, and I don't have any problems with them, and they're in the bottom of my bag, my project bags and things. So, but that's what I do all day. This is what I make all day. Now in the evenings, then I get into the knitting, which I really love that too. So I think that I'm just playing this really loose, and we're gonna figure out how formal I will get as far as sections and things. But I thought I'll do what's in the torch, which are these things, and then also what's in the bag, and then my finished objects. So we'll try that. What do you think? All right, so first let's talk about some things that I have going that are on the needles. This year I have made 2017 is going to be my year of socks. I'm not a big sock knitter, but I want to be, so I'm going to give it a go. So my first pair of socks that I have partly finished, I have half of it finished, is this beautiful thing. This is I'm sure many of you have seen this. It is the Flying Seagull sock from Amy Meeks, who's InkedIndigo on Ravelry and Instagram. And I really like the pattern. It's easy to remember, and she's got different variations. And then the heel is really cool. I love that. So I got one sock done. The yarn, can I tell you, oh my goodness, it's so soft. The yarn is from Christy at Yarn Cafe Creations, and it is, oh, I love it. And I was lucky enough, they ran a little collaboration with Mrs. Brown's Bags, and I got the kit. Yes, I got the kit. I was lucky I got one of the bags. So I got the squishy yarn and the mini skein of the orange that goes with it. Can't remember what this one's called. C something, I believe. I lost my little tag that went on it. I think it's Ocean something, I believe. And then Flying Seagull's sock pattern. So if you want to do a really nice sock pattern, this is the one for you. I made it exactly like the directions, and it fits perfect. And I wear like a size 8 shoe, so it fits my foot perfectly. And I've started my second sock. Woo woo! I'm using Hiya Sharps. I've never used them before, and I really like them. I also had never used a 9-inch circular, and when I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, because it was so, I felt real cramped up. But I've learned that if I just hold it with just the tips of my fingers, then I can whip through these, and I'm loving them. I am absolutely loving it. So I got that one done, and I'm really excited about that. Since it is the year of socks, and now this one I've been working on for a while, and it's kind of one of these things that I will just work on when I'm going someplace and I throw it in my purse and things, so I don't sit down in the evening and work on this. But isn't this pretty? This is from a sock blank. Gorgeous sock blank from Gale's Art. And I got this from, I think it was Cornbread and Honey. I think that's who it was. When we did the Yarn Wishes Granted, I was granted this, and so many people gave me things, and it was wonderful. So I apologize if I got the wrong name wrong on this, but it was very generous. And I love how it's knitting up. I think it's very interesting. I'd never used a sock blank before, and I think it's very interesting how it knits up. It's gorgeous. And this doesn't look as much gray in it as it does when it gets knit up, which I like that, because I like gray, as you can kind of tell. And I have to tell you about my little bag that I have the project bag I have this in. Isn't it fabulous? Little French bulldogs, and then it's reversible also. This I got from Yarn It and Haberdashery in Columbus, Ohio. Esther, the owner, makes these, and I absolutely, this is one of my favorite bags. I always have something in it. And it's a perfect little size drawstring, and I could throw it in my purse. So I just love it. So I have that going on. And then I went down the Find Your Fade. I wasn't going to do it. And I started seeing everyone's beautiful yarn, and I'm all laid out with the colors, and I loved everyone's, selections that they had made. So I got in my yarn stash, and I was like, okay. I figured out 2 of them. And I decided on the one was brighter, had blues and turquoise blues and pinks and purples. I believe it is more of a warm weather kind of thing, and I'm in central Indiana, and it's cold here in the wintertime, and so I opted for a different way. I went more with the neutrals. And I have it in my New Fields bag that I got for Christmas. My husband was so sweet and got this for me, and I love it. I've never really been into I've always been into purses bags, but not project bags. And this, I'm really getting into project bags. So far, I've gotten this far on my Find Your Fade. Or Find Your Fade. I started out with a mini of Lucille from Lolo Did It. And I have since purchased 2 full skeins of this, and then a couple minis to go with it in the Sriracha, which is the red, and then Brown Eyed Girl, which is the darker brown. I'm going to make something beautiful out of that. So I started out with the Lucille, which I really, really like. I may have messed up in this first section of lace, but you know what? I'm not worrying about it, because you can't tell. It's mine. I'm not making this for anyone else. It is for me. And so I'm not worried about it. And like I tell other people, it's just yarn. It's just yarn. I'm not gonna, don't get it. And it's a design element. I'll just go with that. Okay, I've added my second color, which is a gorgeous yarn, hand-dyed yarn. Isn't that pretty? It's called Josie's Brown, and it's from Sheep Spot. And I'm really liking how it goes together. It's a little bit different. You can tell it's different yarn. The Lolo's is a little bit thinner than the Sheep Spot, just a tad. But I really like the texture difference in it. So it's fabulous. I love it. So I got those two colors. Now the rest are in my bag. My Ann Tudor bag, which I'll talk about this in a little bit. So I'm going from Lucille to Josie. Then my next is another Lolo Did It, which is the Tin Roof Rusted. And it's got, you know, some really pretty colors in it. I don't know that I'm going to be able to hold all this up, but we'll try. Got this. And then Madeline Tosh, the Winter Wheat, because there's some of that in it. I'm going to have to drop this ball, but we will. So then that goes to this, the Madeline Tosh Winter Wheat. And then I'm a huge Malabrigo fan, and I have a lot of Malabrigo. And this is the Piedra, I think it's called, in Malabrigo. Then I'm going to go into the Stone Chat by, yes, Malabrigo. Then my last one is another Yarn Cafe Creations, and it's called Weathering the Storm. So those are my Find Your Fade. We will see how it goes. I figure I can always change things if it ends up not being what I want. And as I go through, if I find that I need to change color, I've got other things that I can look at. I can find in my stash. Or I can always buy more yarn, because you always want to buy more yarn. So this is this bag. This is something new I just got. This is my logo. This is my website, AnnTudor.com. And on all social media and things, you'll find me under Ann Tudor. Ann Tudor or Ann Tudor LLC. But I think that this will probably, I have another one that's still in the packaging. And I might have to do a giveaway at some point. After I get this going. I am terrible at, on my Ravelry page, I do have a Ravelry page or group or whatever for them, but I'm terrible at it. I'm going to try to get better. We'll see. No promises, but it is what it is. But I'm on Instagram a lot, so you can see me. You can always see me there. Of course, if you want to leave a comment here, I can answer those. I will answer those. But as far as Ravelry, I'm working on it. We'll see. I'm trying to be better. Okay, so you know what I'm working on. Let me show you a couple things I finished. This is a hat made out of, I have several skeins of Silky Merino Malabrigo and just single skeins of it. So I don't have a whole lot to make something large, and it was kind of thin. So I put two skeins together. I used Maroon Oscuro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Smoke, and combined it and just made a basic hat. Just, 2x2, went up, stuck in it, and then decreased. And then put this gorgeous pom-pom. I love these pom-poms. I also have a lime green one that I don't know what I'm going to put it on yet. I haven't made that hat yet, but I love it. And I'm not a big hat person. And this is kind of big. And the reason why, because I have so much hair, it gives me some room in there, so I don't like my hats real tight. So I got this pom-pom and the yarn, in fact, from Firefly Butterfly Fibers. And she has a great website, and she has a podcast, Elisa the Yarnista, which is really fun to listen to. So if you get a chance, check her out. My last finished object is Joji Locatelli's Pure Joy. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I didn't like so much doing this last wedge. It took a long time because I was getting anxious to get it done. But it is a great pattern. I have not blocked it, so it's kind of funky around the edges. It'll look better once I block it. But I know I'll knit it again. And I have to talk about this yarn. Okay, the gold is Metal and Tosh Winter Wheat, like I'm going to use in my Find Your Fade. And then the rest of this, the blue, the gorgeous blues, that is called, it's from Flying Goat Farm. Oh, that's the wrong side. And it is called Notre Dame or Notre Dame. I'm from Indiana, so it's Notre Dame. I don't know if she calls it Notre Dame or not, but here I call it Notre Dame. It's a gorgeous colorway. And paired with this gold, somebody on Instagram, I posted pictures and they said it reminds them of Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. And that's so true. I really didn't think of it until they said that. I was like, exactly. But it is gorgeous and I'm very happy with it. So that's about all I have to talk about today. I want to thank you all for joining me. I'm sorry, got a little shake there in my camera. This will get better. My first one, we've had some technical difficulties, but that's okay. We'll figure it all out. I appreciate you spending the time with me. If you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like. Like I said, I'm going to try to do these about once a week, and I'm going to keep them short. About 30 minutes is what I'm going for. And we'll talk about all sorts of things, knitting and glass, basically. So, and if there are any questions that you have or comments, things that you'd like to know about, leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer those. You can find me, I'm very active on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page, Ann Tudor LLC. Ann Tudor LLC also on Instagram. And I hope to connect with all of you. And I hope you enjoy this. So for now, I'm going to go and hope to get another one of these out here next week, and hopefully it'll be a little smoother. And thank you very much. Bye.